Thanks. Welcome everybody to Des Moines. I am an actual farmer, but it does sound like we have quite a few here, so I'm pretty happy about that. I don't feel like I'm a fish out of water quite so bad. We've had enough farmers speak already that actually most of my speech is done. So I'm probably going to ask for some questions here in a little bit, but I want to explain a little bit about me. I grew up by a big town in North Iowa called Geneva. And that town is so big that there's two of us here that grew up, three of us here from Geneva. And that's about a town of maybe 4 of us. I think that's half the town is here. That town can't be much more than 100 people now. It was a little bit bigger back when I grew up. It is hard to see in here. It's pretty bright. I should have worn my Latham's cap. When I went to school in Geneva, I was in the biggest class that I ever attended that school. This is back in the 50s. And there was 25 people in my class. And I must add in that Deb is quite a little younger than I am. I don't think she was in school yet at that time. So she's not the oldest one here. But in about 1961, we had what they called consolidation of schools. And our school system got split. A bunch of the kids went to Ackley, and it was called Ackley Geneva. I went to Hampton, which eventually now is called Hampton Dumont. And I think I was in 4th grade when we got moved over to the big town of Hampton, big city at that time. And I can remember, I think there was 4 classmates moved with me to the big town of Hampton. And I can remember some remarks at recess. In 4th grade, we still had recess. And they talked about the farm kids. And it's kind of been a driving factor in my life that even in a small town of Hampton, you have the urban kids and the farm kids. It's unbelievable to me. And it's something that social media has really helped me with, and it's one of the reasons I do what I do. I like to talk to the consumers, urban people. I think we're less than 2% of the people in this country now. I think it's even closer to 1.5. So there's a big disconnect between farming and our consumers, the people that eat food. Everybody likes to eat food. And so what has come about is most people really don't understand what we do. How many people here grew up on a farm, even had parents on a farm? It's pretty good. It's a pretty good crowd, pretty urban crowd, or pretty rural crowd. I'm pretty impressed with that. But most people are a couple, 2, 3 generations removed from farming, and that's one of the things that has really made a difference. I'm actually using notes. I was real glad to see that the 2 smartest guys in the room up here had to use a couple of cheat sheets too. So I'm not a speaker. I'm not a writer. I need a lot of help to blog. I get that from Shannon. I give her basically ideas and she puts them together for me. I can't write. I've got a bunch of ideas I like to share, so she does that for me. I'm not a speaker, although I've been with the National Pork Board going around to towns and speaking to Lions clubs, civic groups of all kinds, exchange clubs. I didn't know there were so many different types of clubs, but I've given about 60 speeches now over about 5 years to civic clubs. And most of those, they're supposed to be within 50 miles of me, but I live out in the boonies and there's not that many people out there. But I've talked to a lot of little groups. The biggest one I've talked to, I think, was in Ames, and I believe that was 175 people. And I think it was a Kiwani's club. When I walked into that meeting, I didn't know what I would run into in a college town. I thought maybe there'd be some people that would kind of give me some tough questions. That group of young professionals actually wrote a song in my honor to show up at that meeting. It was a song about pigs, because I am a pig farmer. That's pretty much what I do. I'm not really used to getting off the farm, although in the last 5 years I have quite a little. But it was really an honor to get into a group like that, and they would ask questions, and they actually fed me information about heart valves out of pigs, and we used the skin for skin grafts and all kinds of stuff. So that was a pretty good group. I went through the farm crisis in the 80s. I'm old enough that I was farming at that time. Basically, I've gone broke a couple times farming. Farming is takes a lot of money, a lot of capital to farm. And I've got just a couple notes here. I'm a pretty small farmer. I farm 400 acres, corn and beans, and I actually have 8,000 spaces that I can put pigs in. I've got 4,000 of them empty right now because I don't think they're fit anymore to put pigs into. And I think I did that because that's the right thing. They're just not fit to have pigs. But on the 400 acres that I farm, that I grow crops, there was a farm sale in northwest Iowa last year that per acre that ground went for $20,000. So if I use that figure on what the acres I farm, my farm ground is worth $8 million. It's a pretty good sized small business. The pigs that I sell, the pig spaces, just the buildings that I have would cost $2 million to build. That one set of buildings I have that I'm letting sit empty, to replace those would cost me $1 million. So there's a lot of bucks involved in it. The cost to put in my crops on 400 acres is about $320,000. Hopefully, I sell those crops for $360,000. That's about the most that I can expect with the markets the way they are. It's very possible that that could go down to $260,000 and I would lose $50,000. So it's capital intensive. So if you're thinking about the farmers out here and you think about Old MacDonald's farm, which is how a lot of urban people actually think about us, it is much more intensive than that. And I'm glad somebody brought up the fact that we do use technology. Just speaking about pigs, I was involved in a test on some hog houses where we could keep track of what each individual pig would eat each day. They would go through a scale, and they would get weighed, and they'd get sorted into 3 different groups. We had 3 different rations of feed, different formulations of feed that we would feed them. We'd have the small pigs, we'd have the medium pigs, and we'd have the big pigs. And it was a test. You could pull it up on your computer, and you could see what every individual pig ate. So we do use technology. These big buildings that we use are not just because we want to crowd all those pigs into there. They're actually the best way that we have to take care of those animals, and that's what we try to do. So I'm going to end with there. If anybody has any questions, I love answering questions. I can't really see.
So we learned that pigs get sunburned. What do you do if a pig gets sunburned?
That's one of the reasons we have moved them inside. Back when I've raised pigs every way you can raise pigs. Did I repeat that?
She asked, what do you do if a pig gets sunburned?
Back when I raised pigs outside, when I was growing up, we had pigs out in pasture. But most of the animals we had at that time weren't all white. We changed the genetics and how we feed the pigs because our consumers, the people that eat the pork, told us they wanted a more lean type product. They wanted it to be healthier. So when we started to change the genetics of the pigs, a lot of the pigs are white because they're a long, lean pig. And we did find out that not only do they get sunburnt, they can't sweat. You can't sweat like a pig because a pig does not sweat. We had to, they also, when we made the pigs leaner, they didn't have any insulation on them, so they couldn't stay warm out in the weather. So that's some of the things we had to change. You could not change the genetics and how you feed that pig unless you took better care of that pig. They do get sunburned. Anybody else?
So did you cause the whole obsession with bacon that's in our country?
I think we're talking about bacon here. We have a party down here in Des Moines called a Bacon Fest. And even on social media, there's all kinds of talk about bacon all the time. And it used to be, back in the olden days when I was young, bacon was kind of a side product. It wasn't, actually, we didn't even get a lot of our bacon cured. It was called side pork. And since the genetics were more for a fat type pig back then, bacon wasn't all that popular. But it has really become a very, it's actually one of the most popular cuts of the pig anymore. It makes me very happy, you bet. Yep. Anybody else?
Quick comment. First, thanks, Mr. Farmer. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Two things I want to disagree with you. Number one, that you're not a speaker, because you are.
Thank you.
And number two, it's not whether you're a writer or not, it's whether you write. You should write. Then you'll be a writer.
Well, I have good help on that, and that's what I appreciate. I had a lot of ideas that I wanted to share. I guess I could tell a little bit of a story how I got into being a blogger. I'm part of a group that's called Ag Chat Foundation. And that's a group of people through social media that have come out, and their mission is to talk to consumers. And when I say talk to consumers, I'm not just talking about talking, I'm talking about listening. We want to hear what your questions are. And through that Ag Chat and through Farm Bureau and that bloggers tour that we had, somehow I got all the way up to CNN. I think there's 3 or 4 of us were on CNN. One cold, blustery morning during the Iowa caucuses, they set us up on a balcony in the wind. And it was about 30 below zero, I think, and we were trying to talk. And it was pitch black outside, and we had lights kind of like this. I couldn't even see the camera. But on CNN, they called me a blogger. And at that particular time, I had never written a blog. So shortly after that, I got together with Shannon and expressed my interest that maybe I should write a blog. So that's kind of how that got started. But, yep. Okay.
I was 19 years old until I actually knew that meat didn't come in a cellophane package with a white box.
That's a pretty popular story. You know, milk doesn't come from a cow, it comes from the grocery store.
So how is it, what I see now, also being, I'm running for office, I'm running for state senate, and I'm talking to kids, I'm also a teacher. They don't see the connection between the process that you do, the grind, the working, the getting up every day, the books that they have are very basic. They don't see that connection to the food making it to the plate and what it took in order to do that. I really think that if the urban kids, if I was to see that, the appreciation of the work and the ethic and what you have to go through would be it would intensify our expectation, our thoughts, and our appreciation for what the farmers work.
I don't think I can repeat all that.
What he's saying, Larry, is he wants you to write. We want to. And you totally made me bawl. I'm crying because I remember I was raised on a hog farm.
Yep, thank you. We do have a lot of programs we're trying to do. We have a program through Farm Bureau called Ag in the Classroom. And up in our area in northern Iowa, I think I forget all the statistics. There's people in here that could talk about that, but we try to go to every school district in our area. And I think that's like 10, 12 different school systems. And they spend about a week in each school system, and they go through some pretty basic lessons with the school kids. And I mean, it could be as simple as just how the wool is used off of a sheep. And that's how we're trying to connect with the kids nowadays. So we do have programs like that we're trying to improve upon.
Larry, since he's from Illinois, we may just want to mention there's a group called Illinois Farm Families, and I'll be glad to get you the information. They're doing a lot of stuff in school.
Yep. And in a lot of the different states, there's another thing I could mention. On my Facebook page, I Facebook more than I Twitter. I'm probably taking up too much time here. On my Facebook page, I've got over 1,600 friends, and I've got somebody from every state, and I started out with farm-type people. And I think I'm now into about 10 different countries also. And I've branched out into more than just farming. I have a lot of consumers, I have a lot of politicians, I have a lot of media on my Facebook. And it kind of rounds it out so you get kind of an idea of what everybody is thinking, and then I can express what I'm thinking. So that's where you go back to that listening and then talking. I think we need to do that.
And that's a very important statement, Larry, that the value of being the live technology, the real-time internet, is the ability to listen to what people are saying to you.
And we need better internet in our area. It's a little slow. Thank you much.
Broadband. Yeah.